Okay, today we're going to talk about the anatomy of a bill, what a bill looks like, how to read it, and a little bit of how you can understand what they're talking about when you see a bill or hear about a bill in the news. Okay, so to start with today, we're going to go to the Family Protection Ministries website at fpmca.org. We're going to scroll down the home page here to the section Getting Involved. And the first item on the list is anatomy of a bill. And we have a nice chart here that we use that helps to understand the different parts of a bill. So typically what you see on a bill is going to look pretty similar to what is on this sheet. There's going to be a number of pages. This one's only one page for starters, but this is the basics of what a bill looks like and how to read it. So, up at the top, you have the bill number. It'll say Assembly Bill or Senate Bill, and the number over here. And frequently when you hear somebody talking about a bill, they'll say AB or SB. And in this case, this bill is Assembly Bill 672. And if you look down here, right here, it says AB 672. So it's abbreviating Assembly Bill to AB. So when you hear somebody say AB, they mean they're talking about a bill that was started in the assembly, and that also means that it was started by an assembly member. An assembly member wrote this bill. So in this case, the member that wrote this bill was Assembly Member Claeys. Johann Claeys decided to write a bill, and this is the bill that he came up with. And the bill number that was assigned to this particular bill, because it was in order as they were all introduced, this was the 672nd bill that was introduced in the assembly of that session. So AB 672 is the number for this bill. And the bill can change it with amendments throughout the legislative session, but it's always going to have the same bill number. It might have a different amendment date. On this one, we can see that it was introduced February 17th. If it was amended after that, the amendment date would show up here somewhere. It would say amended on such and such a day. This one is the introduced version. So to know which version of the bill you're working on is really critical to make sure you're working on the right bill. There is also going to probably be a Senate Bill 672. That's going to be a different bill than this one. So you need to make sure that you're dealing with the right bill and the right version of the bill. So let's look a little bit further down. So this bill, it talks about the author. It has the author's name. It has the date it was introduced. It has the bill number. Further down, we deal with what is this bill about? What's it going to do? This particular one is an act to amend Section 115825 of the Health and Safety Code. The Health and Safety Code is one of the codes that deals with health and safety laws in the state of California, and Section 115825 is one of the sections of that collection of laws that deals with health and safety in California. This particular bill is dealing with that section, and it has a topic in here that says it's relating to reservoirs. So jump down to the next section here. It says Legislative Council's Digest. So let's talk a little bit about Legislative Council. What is that? The Legislative Council is a little agency of attorneys, lawyers that work for the California State Legislature. This office of lawyers inside the Capitol building that works for all of the legislators in Sacramento, the Republicans and the Democrats, this group of attorneys helps them write laws to make sure that they fit in correctly with the current law. So they help write the bills. They make sure that they're written in an appropriate way to fit in to the current law. They also summarize the bills in this, what we call the Legislative Council's Digest, or Leg Council's Digest. So If you hear somebody talking about ledge counsel, it's that group of attorneys that works for the legislature to help them get their lawyerly lingo correct in the bills and make sure it fits into current law correctly. So if you look at this portion of the bill, this underneath Legislative Counsel's Digest, that's a summary of what the bill does. It also starts with not just the title of the bill up here at the top where it says AB 672 as introduced. If it was an amended version, this would say as amended. But this is the introduced version. This is the first version of this bill. It hasn't been amended yet. AB 672 as introduced, and has Clays in there. He's the author of this bill. And then it says reservoirs with water intended for domestic use, recreational use. So this is the more extended title of this bill. Next, you get to the next paragraph. It talks about existing law. So we're talking, this is the Ledge Counsel telling everybody, okay, here's the part in the code that this is going into. This is what we're talking about here. This is existing law. This is what it says. Then it says in the next paragraph, this bill would, and tells you about what this bill is going to do to current law, how it's going to change it. So sometimes you end up with many, many paragraphs saying existing law says this bill will do this. Existing law does this, this bill will do this. So it has many different parts. This particular bill is shorter. It just has one set of existing law and this bill. So down here at the bottom of the Ledge Counsel's Digest, it tells you what kind of vote needs to happen for it. So as you see here, it says most bills require majority vote of both houses except for urgency bills and bills with an appropriation. These require a 2/3 vote. The other part that you want to see here and take a look at is whether it has, whether it's going to cost money. That's what this appropriation means. Do they have to set aside funds for this bill? This one says no. If it says yes, then it requires an extra committee typically and will require a 2/3 vote depending on how they're going to get the money for that bill. It's saying here that this doesn't cost any money and that it does not need to go to a fiscal committee or the appropriations committee. Also, it says down here at the bottom, state mandated local program. No, it's not creating a new program that's going to require a new work from the state or a new agency to run it. So let's move on down. Now we get into the actual text of the bill, the actual wording that's going to be put into the law. Right here it says Section 1 of this bill, Section 115.825 of the Health and Safety Code. So this Section 1 here is talking about of the bill. This section here is talking about of the Health and Safety Code. That's current law. So here it says Section 115.825 of the Health and Safety Code is amended to read. That means that this is going to be wording that's currently in current law, but it's going to be changed. It's not a new code section. It's a code section that exists already, but they're going to change it. How are they going to change it? We can see that down here. See the italics down here. This italics text is showing text that's going to be added. Now, if they were going to be taking out a part of the code, you would see strike-throughs. You would see a line through the wording in here. But right now, this bill doesn't have any strike-throughs, so they're not taking anything out. They're not deleting anything from current law. They're only adding things. Now, one helpful part is that we have page numbers down here, and you have line numbers. Page numbers and line numbers are very helpful, especially when looking at longer bills. Some bills that we've dealt with are hundreds of pages long, and they are difficult to figure out, okay, so we need to deal with pages 75, 120, and 319. Well, but what about where on those pages? What are the concerns we have? Well, if you look on page 19, line 12, you know exactly where to go to find out where the problem is with the bill. So here you can tell that the changes to the current law start on page 1, line 5 of this bill. That's where the italics start. So that's an easy way to pinpoint exactly where somebody's talking about in a bill, or if you're trying to ask a question about a bill, you can say, what about page 7, line 12? And they'll know exactly where to go and which line to look at, and then you can read the words to them and they'll be able to track with you. And that's a really helpful part of how bills are structured, so you can see how a bill works. Hopefully this has been helpful to you, and you'll be able to understand legislation a little bit better after this. So thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time.